All right, Algebra 2, welcome, and Honors Algebra 2. Welcome to your second 6-1 to 6-4 review video for your game plan here. As you guys will know, I will be out next week. Help drive my wife around. She had a C-section, so that changes things a little bit, but I will see you Monday, February 11th. And because we had 2 snow days, I mean, we're pretty much going to be exactly where we need to be anyway, okay? So I will let you know at the end of the video here, Algebra 2, Honors Algebra 2, what to expect that week I'm back grade-wise, okay? I am going to write up an email we're going to have the same subs next week, Mr. Reed, Mrs. Lavoie, and you're going to, regular Algebra 2, you're going to be turning in your game plans 5-5 to 5-8. You're just going to hand them in on Wednesday. And I'll probably come in Wednesday afternoon to grade those quickly and make a few copies of something for you. All right, then I'll see you Monday the 11th. We'll get a few more videos of little Elsie Mae. She's doing great, folks. This is page 8. Page 8. Go to page 8. Okay, let f of x be that and g of x be that. Find f of g of x. So that means simply write what g of x is. So that is literally what you're plugging in for x in the f equation. So you're going to do 2 times what you're plugging in for x, and you're going to finish off that equation, minus 4. Notice the 2's will cancel. You're going to be left with x plus 4 minus 4, which is an interesting answer. G, again, you don't have to have this memorized by the time I come back, okay? Just every question I do, make sure you have the answer, and we'll quickly go over it when I get back. G of f of x, okay, that's what f of x is. Again, write what f of x is. And you're going to plug all of this in for x in that g equation. So it's going to be 2x minus 4, that's the x part, plus 4 over 2. The negative 4 and positive 4 cancel. You're left with 2x over 2, which is just x. Notice how both of them, you got x. So that means f of x and g of x are inverses, okay? They are inverse functions of each other. So, find the inverse of each function. Here's what we're going to do first. So remember that f of x, that's the same thing as y. So instead of writing f of x, I'm going to write y equals 3x minus 7. Here's what inverses are, guys. They are lines that are flipped over, that are mirror images over the line y equals x. So that means x and y need to switch. So that's what you do. Instead of writing f of x, you write y equals 3x minus 7. I literally haven't done anything except for write this as y. Then x and y literally switch. Okay, kind of like a wife swap here, all right? Or husband swap, whatever you want to say. This person had 1 kid, now they got to watch 3. This person had 3, now they got to watch 1. Okay, so this y goes over here, that x goes over there. So now x equals 3y minus 7. Then, after you switch x and y, you solve for y, okay? So I want to get this y all by itself, so I add 7 to the other side, and then to get this y all by itself, I divide by 3. And that is the inverse. X plus 7 over 3 is the inverse function. Now, technically, my original function didn't have a y. It said f of x. So the proper notation, if that's the regular function, the inverse would be f inverse of x. It looks like a little f to the negative first. That is f inverse of x. Now notice how these are different, all right? It kind of makes sense that these would be inverses. Remember, when we think of like inverse operations, multiplication, division, inverses, addition, subtraction. Notice here I was multiplying. I had x, I multiplied it by 3. Notice I'm dividing by 3 for my inverse. I was subtracting 7. Notice I'm adding 7. That kind of makes sense. All right, again, this is hard. This is probably the hardest thing. So I will come back and explain it. Just have everything I write down, have it down, and we'll go over it quickly when I'm back. All right, again, so instead of writing f of x, if you guys want, why don't you try number 2 and 4. You guys can try any that I don't do in the video. That's fine. In fact, you should do that, and we'll go over the answers when I get back. All right, so instead of writing f of x, I'm going to write y. I've literally done nothing other than just rename it in a different fashion. That x and that y switch spots, so now it's x equals y minus 7 over 3. I'm going to set this up as x over 1 so I can cross multiply. X times 3 is 3x. 1 times this is just this. To get y all by itself, I need to add 7 to the other side. Again, if you left your answer like this, that's fine. This is the best way to write it as f inverse of x equals 3x plus 7. Notice here I was dividing by 3, now I'm multiplying by 3. I was subtracting 7, now I'm adding 7. All right, kind of makes sense. Look at that. Those are almost inverses of each other, 1 and 3. All right, let's move on to page 9. 9's just continue to do them. Okay, instead of writing f of x, I write y equals. All right, then I interchange x and y, switch them. There was a y, now there's an x. There was an x, now there's a y. And I got to think, how do I free up y? I'm taking the square root of it. So if I want to free up everything that's in here, I need to do the inverse operations, which is to square both sides. Then the square root is bye-bye. Y minus 1 drops out. You add 1 to the other side. Again, if you write it like this, that's fine, but technically it started as f of x. You should write f inverse of x. And look at that. So notice I was taking the square root. What's the opposite operation? To square. I was subtracting 1, now I'm adding 1. That's pretty cool. All right. Number 7. All right, it's probably the hardest one. One of the hardest ones I would give you. Again, I just write y equals, I made a boo-boo when I was writing the answers here first. I need to interchange x and y. I forgot to do that. Okay, there was a y on the left, now it's an x. There was an x inside the square root, now there's a y. I'm going to subtract 5 first. So I have, when I subtract 5 first, I'll write it like this. That's what I have. Then to get rid of the square root, I need to square both sides. That's what I wrote right here. Y minus 3 drops down. You don't have to do anything else. Just leave it as x minus 5 squared. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Again, it's f inverse of x equals all that. Notice how that positive 5 is on the outside. Now it's on the inside of something that I'm not taking the square root of, but I'm doing the opposite operation, squaring. And notice how it was a positive 5, now it's a negative 5. 3 was on the inside of the square root, and you were subtracting it. Now it's on the outside, you're adding it. I mean, that seems very opposite. All right, so think about that with inverses. And really, that's all I want to talk about on that page. You guys should maybe try to do 6 and 8. 6 and 8, I would give those a try. Honestly, I would save the other 3 at the bottom. All right, so as I said before, find the inverse of each relation. All you do is switch x and y. So that was the original function. The inverse would be 2 comma negative 7. 7, 4 becomes 4, 7. Negative 8, 6 becomes 8, or 6, negative 8. Negative 10, negative 6 becomes negative 6, negative 10. You literally just switch the x and the y. Okay? So if I were to graph those points, they would be mirror images of each other, reflections over the line y equals x. Find the inverse. So game time. Let's do this one. Again, f of x, we write it as y. We switch x and y. So x equals 3y minus 5. I add 5 to both sides. I divide by 3. Again, that answer is totally fine. This is the best answer, though. F inverse of x. Instead of writing y, you write f inverse of x. That's what you found, the inverse. And I noticed I made a boo-boo because it's supposed to be minus 15. So instead of 5, it should be 15 everywhere. You see that? So put a 1 there. Oops. All right. So I think you should definitely try number 2. You guys can do 2. Here's number 3. Again, x and y. First, I write f of x as y. And then they switch. All right. So x equals y at minus 7 over 2. I'm going to write this as x over 1. Cross multiply. That gives me 2x equals y minus 7. I add 7 to both sides. F inverse of x equals that. Again, I was subtracting 7. Now I'm adding it. I was dividing by 2. Now I'm multiplying by it. It seems very opposite. Maybe think about how you would do 4. It's honestly very quick. You can think of that as like dividing by 4, so you would multiply by 4, your answer. Number 5, I'm going to write y equals this. I'm going to switch x and y. I need to subtract 2 first. Then I need to square both sides. Subtract 3. There's my answer. All right, so switch x and y and solve for y on the right side. Y equals 4x plus 1. Switch x and y, and then solve for y. So you're going to subtract 1, and then you're going to divide by 4. There it is. So maybe, I don't know, maybe try 7. 7's really like number 3. Maybe try 4. You can try 6 if you want. I would leave 9. I want to talk to you about 9. 9's special. All right, I'm going to give you 2 more pages here. All right, let f of x equal the square root of x. What values of x can this function have? This is the square root function, pretty important function. So I'm going to type in some nice square roots. I know the square root of 0, I know the square root of 1, I know the square root of 4, I know the square root of 9. It's all those. So I plot them. That's roughly what the graph looks like. It gets taller really slowly. I didn't put 16 in there because I don't want to go over 16. X can be any number 0 or more. You can take the square root of 0. You can't take the square root of negative. We're not going to graph I right now. Or greater than or equal to 0. So that's the domain, the set of all x values. The range is the set of all y values. Okay, 0 is the lowest value. You can't have a negative square root. So identify the domain and range of each function. These are pretty easy questions. So what you do, folks, you're allowed to take the square root of 0. So what x value would give you that? You set what's inside the square root equal to 0 right here. And you get 7. Guys, if I plug 7 in there, that's the lowest square root I can have, 0. So x can be any number that is 7 or more, greater than or equal to 7. We're going to write it like that for now. I can't put 6 in there. I get the square root of a negative 1. So the domain, just set what's inside the square root equal to 0. Now the range is actually looking at you. It's staring right at you. And it's going to involve 2. Because when I put 7 in there, my lowest value I'm going to get out of here is the square root of 0, which is 0. 0 plus 2 gives me that. That's going to be my lowest y value. So the range is any y that is 2 or more. Okay, it's pretty much staring right at you. So number 2, I set what's inside the square root equal to 0. Negative 1 is the smallest x value. So anything that is 1 or negative 1 or more, greater than or equal to negative 1. If I plug negative 1 in the square root, I get 0 minus 3. Negative 3 is the smallest y value, so y is greater than or equal to negative 3. All right, you could try number 3 if you want. Before, be careful. 5 isn't the lowest x value, but it's maximum. If I try to plug 6 in there, I get a negative. So it's actually, the domain is going to be x is less than or equal to 5. Same thing on the range, though, because the square root of 0 is the smallest this will ever be. The range is going to be y greater than or equal to 3 on that one. So if you want to write that down, you can. Number 5 shouldn't be too bad. You said x minus 7 or 9 equal to 0. You get 9. So the domain is x is greater than or equal to 9. The range is y is greater than or equal to 6. But hold up on 6. All right, here's number 7. Just set what's inside the square root equal to 0. The domain is any x greater than or equal to 5. So the range is y values negative 7 or more. Now, I didn't do 8, but when you have that negative sign right there, the graph's not going to go up, it's going to go down. Okay, so the domain will still be the same. Any x value greater than or equal to negative 1. But the y value, the range is going to be y is less than or equal to 5. Be careful there. I would hold up on 9 maybe. All right, folks, the last page here, number 12. Okay, again, a positive square root is going to have that graph. A negative is going to have that one. We'll talk about that more when I get back. Let's find the domain and range. Set this equal to 0. X is greater than or equal to 3. Y is greater than or equal to 4 for the range. You guys can definitely do number 2. I would do number 2. Here is 4. You can probably do 6. Be careful on it. Set 2x plus 8 equal to 0. X is negative 4. The domain is x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And the range is y is greater than or equal to 3. Again, we'll talk about this fully when I get back. Sets what's inside square root equal to 0. All right. You get x is equal to negative 9. The domain is x is greater than or equal to 9. The range is y is greater than or equal to 7. Take calculus, you'll see square root functions, oh my gosh, all the time. X minus 11 is equal to 0. X is 11. So the domain is x is greater than or equal to 11. And the range is y is greater than or equal to 17. Be careful on 9. 3 is what you'll get if you set this equal to 0, but it won't be the smallest x value, it'll be the biggest. So it's going to be the domain is x less than or equal to 3. And the range, because there's no negative on the outside of square root, the range will be y is greater than or equal to negative 7. All right, you've got a video for the other stuff, so you should be able to do it. And honestly, I would like for you guys on page 15, I do want you guys to do all that page now. Okay, so it says save, don't save it, do all that page. All right, and honestly, when I get back, folks, and we do this again, I mean, you'll probably be turning in this game plan like Friday of the week I get back, so the 15th. Okay? All right, and this is it. So this is the video, second video for the entire game plan. Yak Math Videos signing out. Oh, also Honors Algebra 2. You guys know that yours ends at page 10. So, or was it? I think it was 10. Anyway, you got another video coming. Algebra 2. That's it. Yak Math Videos signing out.